Chapter 16. Locked In. At first, I thought I'd hide in the bathroom, but then I figured that was too obvious. So when I saw this other door with steps leading down, I went that way instead. When I closed the door, I heard it latch behind me. I tried opening it just to see if I could, but it was locked solid. It was pitch black with the door shut. I set down my crutches, sat on the top step, and started easing myself down slowly, only to discover that after 4 steps, there was a wall. I wasn't going anywhere. I shook my head, disgusted at myself for trusting that girl. But then I wondered, why did she bother to give me the white card back? Why tell me about the job at the horse farm? Why bring me into town? Why not just have the cops come out to the campground? Those questions didn't have answers. I sat frozen in the dark, feeling my stomach twist itself into a big knot. More questions flooded my brain. What did the word Willie mean? That state police guy said I was a Willie character. What would happen if they found me? The boys back at Cliffside would get a big kick out of my poison ivy, wouldn't they? Tio would say something right off, and I'd have to punch him out for it. My mouth went dry while my mind kept jumping around while I rode out to Cliffside handcuffed. How many more months or years would they tack onto my sentence for running? Who'd take care of Buddy and Luke? I heard people walk past the door. I thought I heard boots clunk past. Those cops were wearing boots. A police radio crackled. On our way, someone said. Had I made a mistake? Did I jump to the wrong conclusions? If so, it would be really embarrassing to call out for help. Meanwhile, I was locked in, and that was making me break out into a cold sweat. I didn't like being locked in. Not one bit. I rubbed the moist palms of my hand on my leg. I shifted position. I wiped my hand over my mouth and I glanced back at the door. What was I going to do? When I heard Nora's voice, I quickly pushed myself back up the 4 steps and leaned towards the crack in the door so that I could hear. Go in the men's room and look, she said. A few seconds later. No, well, go back and sit down, Luke. I'll check outside. Footsteps. Luke walking away. Nora, I said in a low voice. Psst, Nora. Jerry, where are you? You must have turned around then and seen the other door. She tried the knob, but the door didn't budge. She tried harder and it popped open, like it had been stuck, not locked. Boy, I felt like a real idiot then. What are you doing in there? Nora exclaimed. Shh. And I grabbed her by the arm. I pulled her in and I closed the door. Can I just talk to you for a minute? What's going on? Shh. I'm hiding, I whispered. From who? Shh. Those cops. Are they gone? Her voice calmed and softened. I think so. Some cops came in, but they left. Why do you think the cops are after you? My eyes had adjusted to the dark, and I could see the confusion on Nora's face. Can we just sit down for a minute so I can explain? What? Sit down and hear? Yeah, there's a couple of steps behind us. This is getting pretty weird, Jerry. I know, I said. Just give me a minute. We sat down. Nora crossed her arms and frowned. Look, I began. I'm in a little bit of trouble. Yeah? Well, I guess I figured that part out. You did? Duh. A kid with nothing, hiding in the woods, now scared of the police? Actually, I'm in a whole lot of trouble, Nora. Please, if I tell you some stuff, can you promise not to tell anyone? She lifted her shoulders as though uncertain. But what she said was sure. And please, don't turn me in. Nora threw up her hands and glared at me. If I was going to turn you in, don't you think I would have done that by now? I mean, why would I? My turn to shrug. Why wouldn't you? For a few seconds we sat there, her and me, not saying anything. I felt stuck. I didn't want to blow my cover, and yet I realized that Nora hadn't called the cops after all. Here I was hiding, though, so I had to tell her something. Nora sighed. Okay, I'll make it easy for you, she said. When Luke and I couldn't find you, I looked at the web page that you had on your computer. Had up on the computer. I read the story about the kid who escaped from that place called Cliffside, and now I'm putting that together with the card I found in your pants pocket and what's going on here now. So I have a pretty good idea who you are, Michael. I winced, but I didn't deny it. Yeah, that's me. Still, I hesitated. The truth is that I really wanted to trust Nora, because not trusting anybody was lonely. Living the way I was, hiding behind a bunch of lies, took a lot of energy. Plus, it was complicated and nerve wracking, too. I took in a breath, let it out slow, and decided to take a chance on her. Look, I was at this detention place called Cliffside, but I needed to get home to take care of things, so I busted out of there. Did you escape in a garbage truck? And when I nodded, Nora kind of chuckled. And is it true you hijacked a tractor trailer truck? Yeah, I told her, and I had to grin a little bit because no matter what, it was a pretty amazing ride. That's wild! How did you know how to drive it? So I told her some about my dad and what he did for a living and where I came from. But I didn't tell her the bad stuff that my father did or why I got sent to Cliffside. You know, I never thought you looked like a Jerry, Nora said. She sat back with her arms still crossed and scrunching up her nose. But you don't look like a Michael either. That's funny, 'cause nobody calls me Michael, I said. They call me Digger. Digger? She repeated. I hoped I hadn't told her too much. Been my nickname since I was a little kid. It's 'cause I liked it's 'cause I called the backhoe a digger. Cool. I like it. It's better than Jerry, for sure. So can I call you Digger? I smiled a little when our eyes met in the dim light of that closet. I felt something deep inside me kind of melt. Only when nobody else is around, okay? You gotta keep it a secret, Nora. I promise, she said. So Nora knew about me, for better or for worse. Later, when her mother was dropping Luke and me off at the campsite, Nora whispered, "Goodbye, Digger," into my ear. Woody still hadn't come home. With Buddy trotting beside us, Luke and I walked down to the bathhouse to brush our teeth. After we returned to our tents, I told Luke to change and get ready for bed. When I went in to say good night, I saw how he had the checkerboard all set up for a game with his dad. The board was on a small table in between their two cots. It made me feel sorry for Luke that his dad hadn't come home on time, but it also made me aware of that hole I carried around inside me. I honestly couldn't remember my father ever playing any kind of game with me. Not checkers, Clue, Monopoly, not even cards, nothing. I'm sure your dad will be back by morning, I told Luke. He didn't seem worried, but he wasn't himself either. Luke, he was usually full of chitty chat and dumb questions. You're not going anywhere, are you? Nope, I told him. I'll be right here in this pop up tent all night. I knew Luke was counting on me, and since the cops were keeping such a close eye on my family's home, I figured I'd be hanging out here longer than I had planned. Do you promise? Luke asked. What? That I'll be here? Of course. But I could see he was still a little anxious, so I sat down on the cot beside him. I was thinking you ought to learn how to swim, Luke. If it's still warm out this week, maybe we can go down to the river one day and get you a lesson. We'll stay in the shallow part, though, right? Absolutely, I assured him. So you better get some rest, 'cause it'll be quite a workout. Luke seemed to like that idea. He took off his glasses and set them on the milk crate by his bed, and then he crawled into his sleeping bag and hugged his stuffed tiger. I got up to leave. Did you know that armadillos can swim? He asked. I turned around. Armadillos? Yeah, Luke nodded eagerly. An armadillo can fill itself up with air and swim across the river. I saw one do it once. No armadillos around here, though, are there? I asked him. Don't they live in the south somewhere, like in Texas? Luke ducked down and pulled the sleeping bag up over his head, which I thought was a little strange. What what was with him? Was he scared? Hey, tell you what, I said. How about if I leave Buddy in here to sleep with you tonight? until your dad gets back. He whipped the covers off his face. That would be great. Buddy, here, I ordered, pointing to the rug beside Luke's cot. Lay down. The dog did exactly what I told him. Stay, I ordered, showing him the palm of my hand, and he didn't move. Really, for a mutt, he was an awesome dog. I reached down to pet him on the head. Good boy. I felt a little tap tap on my elbow. Can I ask you one more thing? Luke wanted to know. Sure. How come Nora called you Digger? What? You heard that? He grinned, the little devil, and then he reached a hand down to pet Buddy, and the dog licked his fingers. I took a hard look at that kid. I felt sorry for him. Sure, he seemed like a good kid, but could I trust him too? All right, I'll tell you something, I said, and I sat down on the edge of his cot again. But you have to swear to keep it to yourself. Cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. What is it? Jerry's not my real name. It's not? His eyes tripled in size and he sat up. Nope. My real name is Digger. I told Nora, so I'll tell you too. When it's just you, me, and Nora, you can call me Digger. Wow, Luke exclaimed. So Jerry was just an adventure name? I kind of laughed. Yeah, I guess it was my adventure name, I was thinking. If only this kid knew about the adventures I had had. Luke was beaming like noonday sun. You know what? No, what? Luke isn't my real name either. It's my adventure name.